Hello everyone, welcome to another week's live, and this is the 100th video I have done on YouTube. So thank you for everyone that's supported me along the way. Thank you for everyone that's tuned in, for whether it's 30 seconds of a video or whether it's to watch nearly every video on my channel. This is the 100th video, so I appreciate everyone's support. So I want to do another week's live to go through that. I've got a lot I want to talk about the channel in general, and I'm going to be talking about the future of these lives. So stay tuned to find out whether these lives are actually going to continue or not. So as always, we'll start with our pre-show quiz. So I'll bring up the quiz question. So for those joining us on Facebook, over on YouTube, so tonight's question is, what episode of Tax Talk featured the first quiz? So was it episode 5, episode 1, episode 7, or episode 15? So leave your comment whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube, and just a fun way to interact with the audience while people join. So, like I said, for those that are new here, if it's your first time joining, I think this is the 20th live from memory. So for those that haven't watched one before, we jump into a quiz to start with, a bit of a way for people to leave some guesses in the comments. Then we jump into a topic. So tonight's topic is going to be the 100th episode. So I'm going to be talking about the 100th YouTube video. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about why I've started the channel, how we got to this stage, some of my journeys, learnings of running a YouTube channel and that stuff. I've got some questions that were asked during the week about a couple of different tax topics and a few things about me personally. So, and then I'll jump into any questions I get in the comments. So make sure you do leave a question in the comments, whether it's about YouTube channels or whether it is about tax, accounting, bookkeeping, business, crypto, NFTs, anything like that. Make sure you leave your comment. So we've got one guess here of C, which is 7. So if anyone else wants to leave a guess, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube, I'll see all your comments. We've got another guess here for episode number 5. So g'day to a few of the regulars that joined. G'day, Chris. So yeah, I started doing these quizzes as a quick way to start the episode of away while people join, because I know I've got this scheduled, and I know it takes a while. People get the notification on their phone, and then you got to go in, log into the video. So this is a bit of a way to start the interaction. So we've got a couple guesses there. So yeah, they've done all right. G'day to the Flipping Boomer. Hello, how are you? Thanks for joining. So the answer, I'll jump straight into it. And so tonight's answer is episode 7. So it was the 7th episode when I decided that I was going to chuck these quizzes in. So yeah, that gets to a good way to go into tonight's topic. And yeah, this is the 100th video on the channel. It's not the 100th live, but it's the 100th video. So I think that's now made up of, I believe it is 80 regular videos and 20 lives. So the lives I started about 3 to 4 months ago on the Wednesday nights. And before that, initially when I started the channel, I was probably doing 2 to 3 videos a week. I think the first few videos I was doing 3 videos a week. You get that early motivation. You just want to pump out videos. You've got lots of ideas. And then over time, I've obviously started to reduce that. I then tried 2 videos a week. And then I switched over to the 1 video and the 1 live. And that's one of the things I do want to talk about, is how I develop this channel going forward. So thanks, Chris. Appreciate the support. So yeah, that is one of the things I'm looking at. So I would love some feedback on what people like to see, whether they want to see weekly lives, whether they want me to do them maybe less regularly and do them monthly or something more special and focus more on content videos. I'm trying to work out what's going to work out best for the channel. It's all been a trial and error. So next Wednesday will actually mark 1 whole year on YouTube. So I managed to get out 100 videos before 1 year. So that was a really good milestone, a really good achievement for me, because to do 100 videos in less than a year means I was doing just under 2 videos a week. So that's been really good to get that consistency over the whole year. Because when I've started different bits and pieces. I started businesses before and started bits and pieces and didn't know whether I would stick it out. I wanted to. That's something I really wanted to go, if I give this a shot, let's give this 50 videos, 100 videos and see how it goes. And the first few months were slow. There wasn't a lot of engagement on videos. There wasn't a lot of views or anything like that. Not a lot of subscribers. But I kept honing my craft, kept trying to improve the quality of the videos as I went. And that, I think, shows. I think you can see the quality of the first few videos, and they're quite funny to go back and watch. Compared to the videos that I'm now doing now, I can see that there's been improvement in video quality, in editing, in my delivery of the content. So they're all things that I think have definitely improved, and it's been great to see that growth. And then the support and the community has grown around that. So I definitely get more engagement on the videos. It's not where I want it to be yet. I'm still working towards that, and it will continue to work towards that. This isn't just yep, I got to 100 videos, or I got to 1,000 subscribers, or I got to a year, and okay, well, let's stop trying to grow. I want to keep improving the whole way along. So that's definitely my goal. So I've got one comment here. So personally, I'm most interested in the crypto-related stuff. So yeah, I think that is definitely something I will talk about more on the channel, because I know a lot of people are really interested in crypto stuff. So I did a video last week on stolen crypto, scammed crypto, what happens in those situations from a tax point of view. So if you haven't checked that one out, go and check that one out, because that was quite an interesting topic to cover. I've got a few other crypto topics I do want to cover going forward. So I want to talk about NFTs quite a bit more, because they're definitely going to be a place that people put their money in. Obviously, they need to know that from a tax point of view. And obviously, I'll talk about NFTs in general. So talk about some of my personal NFTs that I've purchased. I've got a few really exciting plans regarding NFTs in the future as well. So yeah, so that's how we got here. So what I'll talk about next is what I've learned about YouTube. So I've definitely learned a lot about YouTube over the 100 videos. So it's definitely not for everyone, but I really loved it, and I think it definitely was for me. So I'd never really done video content before. I wasn't big to go and put myself out there personally. So I'm really glad I did it, because I feel like it's really grown me as a person and really improved my public speaking and improved even just generally speaking to clients, because you're always talking to people. And this is me talking to a wide range of people out here, from people from different countries, all across Australia, different interests. So like I said, we've got crypto. I've got people that are in the reselling game. I've got people that are in e-commerce. I've got just normal individual tax returns. So I've talked to so many different people. So obviously the content I make on YouTube, depending on the topic, is aimed at different audiences. So it's allowed me to learn how to connect with different types of people and learn what type of communication methods work well. And there's lots I would like to do with the channel that I haven't done, but I've definitely learned a lot about YouTube, learned about the whole power of video marketing and the whole power of growing a personal brand and all those kind of things through video. And by doing something unique, a lot of accountants aren't doing this type of thing. So I've been able to grow my own business. But about YouTube in general, I have learned that consistency pays off by making searchable topics. So thinking for me, obviously I can make lots of things about the questions I get asked regularly, because it's likely if someone's asking me in person or ringing me up, it means they're probably searching that online as well. They're doing a Google search or doing a YouTube search. So a lot of my traffic has come from search. So definitely that wasn't the case initially. It took a while to break through that to actually be able to get my content to be ranking higher in search. But by continuously putting out what I believe is valuable content and getting those views and getting people to stay there and increasing the average watch time and getting people to watch more the duration of each video, that's definitely helped grow the channel. So I've definitely learned that. I've obviously learned about what goes into making a good thumbnail, what goes into making YouTube titles, all those kind of things. And I suppose the next challenge is then to learn more about, okay, well, what else can I do to increase that native YouTube? How can I get more search traffic, more suggestion views, more browse views? So they're all things that are important. So the next thing I want to talk about is YouTube and Rooshock accounting and how that's tied into each other. So that's probably tied in a lot more than what I would have ever expected. So the YouTube channel has brought in a lot more businesses, allowed my business to grow exponentially over the last few months, that I just didn't expect that initially. So it's been really cool that I initially did this, as I've spoke about on the channel before, to make content that I could then share to existing clients to cover topics I talked about, and obviously to grow a bit of a personal brand. But I didn't realize how much work that would bring in for me, which has been great. So I've done a lot of tax returns and I've picked up a few business clients, which has been really cool, a lot of crypto stuff. So by talking about topics, people straight away are building that trust. So I think for anyone that's running a business in particular, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, if you can talk about what you're doing and show your growing process and show that process of you growing that business, it starts to build trust with potential customers, with your current customers, with former customers. Suddenly people go, okay, this person does know what they're talking about, or they just appreciate the time and they want to give you a chance. So I've had a lot of clients that go, oh, I've learned more off your YouTube channel in the past few months than what I have ever off my previous accountant. So these people are watching it time and time again and then make content. So I think anyone that is making content from a business point of view, don't just expect that you're going to get a customer day one from it. So my YouTube channel, I don't think I got my first serious actual paying client for probably 4 to 5 months after starting the channel. So it just shows that you have to keep putting content out there. And I think that's for business in general. You can start a social media account, but don't expect to close a sale on day one. That's not how it's going to work. Unless you're doing paid advertising where that may be the goal. but a lot of content marketing is going to take time. So I think that's something people have to remember, but it's something I definitely learned on how I could combine YouTube with Rooshock accounting and how I could actually turn my time, because obviously I dedicate a lot of time to this channel. So I'm probably spending at least at the moment, just in general, probably five hours a week at least on the channel. So that's obviously a lot of time I'm spending, but over the long term, I can see that's paying off. And sometimes it's like, okay, well, what else would I be doing at 7:30 on a Wednesday night? Would I be being productive? Sometimes not. So me jumping on these lives is a good way to get myself and make more content. And that's why I did the lives, especially when I was busy, because they were an easier way for me to get on here and get a half-an-hour video out, talk to my audience. And the other reason I started doing the lives was to show that I do know what I'm talking about. I'm not just searching this up and then reading off a script. I can talk about topics in general. So for these lives, the notes that I have is literally that title there that's on the screen. That's it. That's what I'm reading off. There's no other notes written anywhere else around this room. So I am talking about topics, and by jumping in and answering questions that get asked, I think it's a great way for me to help build that trust again and build that confidence with clients that I do know what I'm talking about and I can genuinely help them. And them switching to our new accountant is a big move. And a lot of the native social media content I do doesn't necessarily bring clients initially, but the YouTube has helped build trust with people I've never met who have then become clients and then referred other clients on. So it's been a really cool part about doing the YouTube. And then I've been able to obviously I'm using StreamYard to do these lives, be able to then go live on Facebook as well. So to my Rooshock accounting clients and people that have liked the page over there that are watching, so I can see there are a few of you. That's been cool as well because I've been able to provide value to my clients. That's been something really cool with the YouTube side of things. So what does the next 100 videos hold? Well, I'm really not sure. That's going to be a growing thing over time. As of right now, and I'm thinking this is going to be the case, I think Tax Talk will be coming to, whether it's an end as of tonight or whether it's going to be reformatted, I'm not sure, or it might be just on a less regular basis. I'm trying to come up with an idea that works a little bit better because, to be honest, the engagement probably hasn't been as high on the lives as what I was hoping. So I'm trying to think of ways that I can improve that. And that was the whole thing with the channel, is to keep trial and error. I don't want to be afraid to make a change because, it might hurt my existing audience and stuff. I'm still trialing these things. I want to keep enjoying the YouTube journey. So I am willing to give things a shot, even if it does mean the channel takes a hit. So I'm not quite sure, but at this stage, I'll continue to pump out as many normal videos as I can. The lives are just going to go on hiatus for a bit while I try and come up with a better plan to how I can increase engagement on them. So if people do enjoy the lives, please do leave that comment. I can see there's a few of you watching, so that would really mean the world to me to know that people are actually enjoying them and are getting value out of them. So there's lots of things I want to do. Obviously, with the lives, the quality isn't as good, so I do have some ways to improve that. So I'm going to bring those in. So I definitely will be back for more lives, but I'm just trying to work out the format that will be in. So I definitely will be covering more range of topics. So again, I will be pumping out more crypto topics. I've got a few different journeys and challenges that I want to do. So a few playlists that will eventually come of different growth in businesses and stuff like that I want to bring in. I'm going to do a little bit of reselling, hopefully just a few trial and error there. So a few different bits and pieces. So smash that like, everyone. So appreciate that. Yeah, make sure you hit that. So another one here, your lives are good when I can get onto them. So I do appreciate those few comments coming through. So yeah, so that's some of the things that I do want to do. Is I've obviously had a few of those things like journey growing YouTube channel. So hopefully all going to well, that on the 1 year mark, I'll release an update on that. So just talking about the channel again, the normal videos, then people can pick and choose. They see what the topic is about and they can decide whether they do watch them or not. So that's some of the cool things that I want to do. I've got a few other topics that I haven't really talked about. So there's things like business that I haven't really talked about a lot. And obviously that is something I'm really passionate about. So I want to talk more about growing a business and starting a business, because I know a lot of people are interested in that. So lots of different things. Another comment here. So yeah, thanks, Mum. I've got another one from Chris. Super keen to follow along, dude, and see what's next. So I appreciate everyone that does continue to follow along. So that really helps motivate me. And if people do have channels, I hope to then go back and check out their content or check out what you're doing and support you back. So that's one of the cool things about the YouTube community that I didn't really speak about before, but the community is really good. So people support each other. So that's something that I found really cool about YouTube. So another comment here. So we love the lives. Hope to see more in the future, even with the new format. So yeah, that's something I do want to do. I definitely don't want to lose the lives. I'm just probably going to change things up a bit and work out how I can make them more interactive. So something I really do want to do, I've spoke about it from probably, I reckon, about 20 or 30 videos in. I want to get some guests on the channel. So whether they are on lives or whether they are on normal videos, that's something. So by putting it out here before episode 200, well before that, I will be having guests on this channel. So this is me holding myself accountable by telling all of you that will be something that's happening. So if there is any guests that do want to appear on the channel, make sure you reach out to me on socials. We can talk about anything, whether it's business, whether it's about crypto, whether it's about investing, or whether it's about mindset, anything like that. Reach out if you do want to be on the channel, or if anyone's got any suggestions of guests they do want to hear on the channel. So that's something I definitely want to hit up in the next 100 videos, is to feature more of that, because I want to have those genuine conversations. I think that's where value comes into a lot of YouTube channels. So that's something, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at with the next 100 videos. So I do appreciate support. So I did get a few questions during the week, so we'll jump into those. So first one was, what is your favorite part of being an accountant? So definitely my favorite part of being an accountant is dealing with businesses, and I'm talking about business growth. I think that's something I keep coming back to, but I really love to have conversations about wealth growth and business growth and what ideas you can implement into a business to grow it beyond just the tax and compliance work. So that's obviously a part of what I do. But the cool part about it being an accountant is I can go beyond just doing a tax return with someone. We can talk about business and talk about how we can grow that business and how that does impact financially, or the decisions that you'll make, what kind of financial backing you need with new startups. Okay, how much capital do we need behind us? What does a cash flow look like? What does a budget look like? So all those kind of things are really cool dealing with businesses, or bringing systems into a business. So whether it's an accounting system, or whether it's a booking system or a point of sale system, talking to a business owner about those things, because by saving them time and saving them, it ends up saving them money and help their business grow. Because obviously for me as an accountant, obviously I want successful business clients. One, that means they're going to keep coming back to me. And two, that means I can see them grow. And I like seeing my clients grow from here up to here over that time and seeing that real business growth. So I've got a few really exciting clients at the moment that I can see continuous business growth and businesses getting better and better. And that's a really cool thing to do, no matter what industry they're doing. So what's really cool is I have such a range of different, I've got such a range of different industries that I deal with, which is really cool. So what's really cool about that is that I don't just get to deal with one thing. I've talked about that before. About being an accountant, it's like, okay, I could start a retail store, but then that's all I would get to do with. Whereas I get to deal with people in retail, and that's in-person retail. I've got e-commerce stores. I've got people doing reselling. I've got people that are doing cafes. I've got people that are running printing shops. I've got a range of different clients across a range of different industries, across a range of different states, which is really cool. So I've got business clients that I think now I've got one in Northern Territory. I've got ones in Victoria. I've got ones in New South Wales. I've got them spread across, I think, the ACT. I've got them spread across the whole country, which is really cool. So I'm getting to see how business works in different states. So that's one of the really cool things about being an accountant and, I suppose, a business owner. So a few more comments. So Chris is keen to come on. Yep, Chris is definitely one of the guests that I definitely want to get onto the channel. So before you know it, you'll be interviewing the Commissioner of Taxation. I don't know if I want to interview the Commissioner of Taxation. Maybe I'll leave that high-level tax rulings to him. But hey, you never know with all these things that happen in the crypto world. Maybe I will need to get up there and speak to some of these people higher up and tell them that they need to make some of these things a bit clearer. So maybe they don't really understand, especially wait till you see my video on NFTs and try and unravel the whole tax side of that, because that's a complete mess in my opinion. So that's definitely one to keep a watch out. So I do have a question here that I will get back to. So g'day, mate. Can you give me a better understanding of the bring forward ruling? So can you put some more clarity, because I'm not 100% sure which part you're referring to in that. So come back to that one. So the next question I had was, do accountants help the average person with budgeting? So no, it's not really something I do. So it's unfortunately an area that there's a lot of compliance in anything to do with budgeting and financial planning and financial advice. So it's not necessarily something that I really help people as an accountant. It's something that I can talk about on my YouTube channel, though, about general budgeting. So I can't necessarily provide individual advice to someone on budgeting, but I can talk about general budgeting. And I've got a video about how I do my budget early on the channel. And it's probably something I will come back in. We're coming out of that real hectic tax time. So we'll get into more personal finance type videos going forward. So more about saving money and budgeting and that type of stuff. So keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. But yeah, people do have questions about how I run my budget, etc. I'm happy for you to leave those questions in the comments, because it is an area that I know a lot of people struggle with. And I did talk about it on one of the lives earlier on. Can't remember the episode. It'll be in the first 5 or 6 episodes towards the end of an episode. So one of the longer episodes, I believe it goes for about 37 or 38 minutes. And that last 10 minutes, I talk quite a bit about budgeting. So if you are interested in that, go and check that out because I talk about that in a bit more detail. So I've got another question that come through. So have you come across any new challenges lately? If so, how have you overcome them? I come across new challenges every single day in my business. So that's definitely a challenge that I'm always dealing with. One thing that I've really tried to work on over the last few weeks is that when things are getting busier or when I've got something that's frustrating me, trying to get past that frustration and not let little things frustrate me and go, okay, let's just deal with it. If there's a problem that arises, let's just smash that out, get that out of the way, and then move on and put a solution in, okay, how can we fix that next time? So I'm learning stuff every time. As my business grows, it brings all new challenges. So obviously, as the business gets bigger, it's going to bring with it things that I couldn't have imagined. So obviously, I have plans in place for a range of different situations. But as the business grows, it throws things at me that I wouldn't have expected, wouldn't have planned for. So then I obviously have to go and, okay, how does this impact my business? How do I put a solution in place? So if I ever do get a complaint about service or whether something has taken longer, what can I do to fix that so it doesn't happen again? If I come across a tax thing that I haven't come across, so obviously there's new things I come across each day. Clients everyone's situation's unique. So I do still come across things. I'm like, oh, I haven't encountered that before. How do I deal with that? So my way of trying to deal with these challenges is trying to go, okay, let's just deal with it one thing at a time. So one thing I've actually started doing, and it sounds really old school for someone that's got all these systems in place, but I've literally been writing myself out a list at the start of each day of what jobs I need to do, numbering them in the order, crossing them out as they're done, refreshing that list the next day. And I've obviously got systems that run jobs in it, so I know, but this is, and I run my email system, but this is a way for me just to keep a real visual. I get satisfaction by crossing something off that list, and it's able to maybe get me on top of things when things have got busier. So that's a challenge I've come across and the way I've put a solution. So things I do like to talk about in the channel is, okay, what challenges I face and talk about what solutions I've put in place to try and help fix them because it might help someone else on the channel. So that's one that I've got there. So I've got one more question, then I've got a few more that are popping in the comments. So for those leaving questions in the comment, mate, I will get to them in a second. So the last one I got here was, I just bought a PC for my home office with my tax refund. What steps do I need to do to record the expense for a future tax deduction? So I'm going to show this as an individual, not a business. So obviously, first of all, you need to assess every time, okay, is it deductible, which obviously if it's a home office, a lot of people working from home permanently, there's a good chance it will be. So the second thing is make sure you've kept that receipt and store that receipt. So don't just go, yeah, I've got it, I've chucked it in a pile. You know, I'd especially recommend taking a photocopy of it, photo, scan it somewhere, save it online somewhere, because receipts fade. And that can really, if you're trying to prove something and you've got a faded receipt, that's going to put you in trouble. So especially on a big purchase, you want to make sure you've got that documentation. So that'd be my first thing, is that you've purchased something, get the documentation right. The second thing is obviously, well, then you need to assess, are you eligible to claim it? So obviously if you're running a home office, you're using that computer for work purposes, there's a good chance it's going to be claimable. There's a good chance it'll be a high percentage, but it's going to depend on what else you're potentially using that for. Is there a personal use side of that? And then the third thing is that, okay, well, then you need to include it in your return. So obviously if it's purchased in this financial year, it'll be included at the end of the year when you do your tax return. And being an item, being a PC, it's likely going to be over that $300 and it's going to need to be depreciated. So that date of purchase will become really important. So whether you're doing your own return, or a lot of times people that use an accountant forget to go, yep, I purchased a computer, it cost me $1,500, and they forget to go, oh, okay, this was the date I purchased. The other thing I noticed with big purchases, people often just round them and go, oh yeah, I spent $1,500, but they actually spent $1,420 or something like that. So you need to actually use the exact amount, because if you get an order, the ATO are going to go, well, what was the exact amount of that purchase? You can't just make that up. So yeah, the main things, if you purchase something, doesn't matter if it is a big purchase or a little purchase, keep the receipt, work out a way to store it. 2, obviously make sure it is deductible when you actually go to do it. And then 3, obviously you'll put it through the return and put it through accurately. Like, don't run the risk that you go, I'll just round it up. It cost me $1,500. I'll include $2,000 just to get my refund up. That's just not worth it. So They were the questions I had come through the week. So I've got a few that have come through in the questions. So, is there a set limit of days for a wash sale for share? 30 days or more? I couldn't find the answer. So we don't have a set limit here in Australia. So go back, and if you go onto my channel, I've done a video on wash sales, but it isn't determined by a set date. It's determined by the nature of that transaction. So I believe in America there is a 30-day limit. I think that's where that misconception comes from, that 30 days. But there isn't necessarily it's going to be depending on what your intentions are. And a lot of our tax things are based on what are your intentions, either at the time of doing something or the time of selling something, etc. So the biggest thing with wash sales, which I talked about that, is why have you done this transaction? Are you in the exact same financial position? So for those that don't know what a wash sale is, go watch that video. But it's pretty much when you're trying to sell something at a loss so you can recognize a loss and then just rebuy it. And if you think about it from that point of view, if you've just purely sold something and you're doing something just for a tax purpose and it doesn't change your financial position across a lot of things, that's when you run the risk of doing some type of tax avoidance scheme. And that's when things potentially aren't going to be claimable. So that's something you've really got to consider, that a lot of tax things are around your intentions. And if they're purely done as a tax avoidance scheme, then you're potentially in trouble. There's genuine times where you can put a strategy in place to save tax, but you've got to be very careful because that line can get a bit blurry for people on what's tax avoidance and what's a genuine tax scheme that's allowable. So yeah, go and watch the video I've done on wash sales because I talk about that, but there definitely isn't a particular limit on that. It's around intention. So I hope that's answered that one well for you. So got another comment here. So that's a chat we might have to have at some time soon when I scale. I'm open to you using me as an example of a small scale miner too, if that's something you'd be keen for content. So yeah, that's something definitely that I want to reach out to some of my clients and talk about some of their experiences in crypto, what their journeys are, their experience of growing a businesses, or whether it's some of my reseller community, jumping on and talking about them and what challenges they face. So that's some of the cool things. And so, for instance, if we use crypto mining as an example, then I can talk about, okay, well, how is this person keeping track of things? Do they run a spreadsheet? Do they run some software like Coinly or Crypto Tax Calculator or Coin Tracking as well? Or if I talk to a business owner, do they use accounting software as Xero? What things are that was essential? When did they know when to hire someone? If I'm talking to a reseller, how are they keeping track of receipts when they go to a garage sale? What are their tips for eBay? They're the kind of things. I've got so many people that are running successful things, and I want to bring them onto the channel so they can share their knowledge, because I don't have all the knowledge. I've got clients that have much more knowledge in their industries. Obviously, I know about the tax side of things, but when I talk to people, I'm going, okay, well, this is what I know, but you tell me what you know. So that's one of the cool things about being an accountant. I get to learn so much about different industries. So I've got a question here. Can you help someone that's thinking of starting up a business? So yeah, it definitely can help with starting up a business. So I do have a video, the first ever video. So this is the 100th video. The first ever video I did on my channel was how to start a business in Australia. Obviously, that was nearly a year ago. The content, the actual video production of that, I'd say is really poor. So don't just get past that part. But the actual content in it, I think, is valuable. So I hope that go and check that one out. But definitely happy for people to hit me up on my socials, whether it's on the Rooshock accounting page, whether it's on my personal page, on my Instagram, Twitter, email, whatever. Send me a message and I'll help you and talk to you about starting up a business and give you the right direction, because it's really important to get that right. And that's what I talked about. And I need to do more content on business startups, because by getting that right, having an understanding of what's important and what's not important, what you do want to spend your time on, what you don't want to waste your time on, what you do want to spend your money on, and what you don't want to spend your money on. All those things are important, and getting the right structure set up and make sure you've got all the legal things. So you've got your business name, your ABN, all those kind of things. So that's definitely something that I have talked about, but I want to talk about more. So yeah, definitely something I can help with. So I did have a reply there, so got it. Thanks so much. That's in regard to the wash sale. So I'm glad that was explained in a way that makes sense. So that's something that I do like about the lives, is I can get that feedback on whether how I'm explaining something does make sense, and I can jump into questions. So like we had before, we had a question here. So, mate, can you give me a better understanding of the bring forward rule? I can now ask and get some more details in regards to contributions to super. So super is an interesting area because there's so many different things, and things seem to change. Super is one area that I feel like they do make a lot of changes compared to other areas of tax. So the bring forward rules are regarding super contributions for the non-concessional contributions cap. And I believe there's now, I do know that there's concessional contribution caps that can be rolled forward as well. So it's definitely something you've got to seek that individual advice on. But what a lot of it's around is that we have caps on super. So we've got concessional contributions that are normally potentially claimable in your tax return, non-concessional that aren't. But we do have caps on how much that can go into your super in certain years. They have brought in some bring forward provisions, so you can bring forward unused caps from previous years and roll that forward into future years. So what that means, if you haven't gone and haven't made full use of your super contributions in other years, you may be able to roll that forward and make a larger contribution in future years. And that's going to depend on, obviously, concessional versus non-concessional. It's going to depend on your individual situation as to what you've used up and how that works. So definitely seek individual advice, but it's definitely a really useful thing. And this is when I talk about legal tax planning things, that contributions to super can be a legal way to reduce your tax payable. Now, there are other things you've got to consider: the tax you'll pay in super, your age, whether you need access to those funds, and that's why everyone's got to seek that individual advice. But the rolling forward and the bringing forward contributions things definitely can help. So I know I can't necessarily answer about specific things, but hopefully that can guide you. The ATO have got some good stuff on that. We can do some calculations on what these bring forward provisions can mean for you. But yeah, definitely go have a look into that, and obviously then seek out advice. It might be an accounting thing, or it could be a financial planning thing. It's just going to depend, again, when I talk about blurry lines of where it falls. But yeah, definitely it is a area that I think people should try to have an understanding on, especially if they're interested in putting money into their super, because if they can get a tax benefit on the other side of that, well, that's great. It's definitely something to consider. So I've got one more question. So I will wrap things up soon, but if anyone does any more questions, I will keep answering. So is it a good idea to get a bookkeeper from the beginning or not necessary? So I would say normally not, but it's really going to depend on what size your business is and where you feel comfortable in your knowledge. So bookkeepers can be expensive. Depends. I do bookkeeping as a part of Rooshock accounting, but again, these things are going to cost money ongoing. So when you're running a startup, you've got to work out where is it best to allocate your money. What have you got coming in? And also it's going to depend on, have you got money to cover your lifestyle? So if this is a side hustle and you're not too fussed, you might go, you know what, I'm going to get a bookkeeper in because I'm not too fussed if I'm not making a living off this, but I want to get it right from the start and while it grows. Now, if you're running a big business, you go purchase and you're running a full retail store and you're turning over $10,000, $15,000 a week, well, then you're, again, probably going to want a bookkeeper. Or, sometimes it might be the husband or the wife that does the bookkeeping and the other person runs the business. But if you're starting something small and you're only turning over a small amount, do you want to be spending out $50, $100 a week on a bookkeeper? Obviously, it's going to depend. So I do offer some bookkeeping packages through my business, and they're reasonable price. But again, a lot of clients like to tackle this themselves. But one big thing is, if you are going to tackle bookkeeping yourself, is it going to then cost you more at the year end because your accountant's got to go fix up what you've done? So that's the other side to that. So I'm not going to sit here and go, yes, go get a bookkeeper and come to me because I'm going to get more money for it. That's not what I'm about. But you've got to really assess, is it right for your business? So it's just going to depend on whether, one, you can afford it, or two, can you afford later on to fix up the mistakes? And three, does your business really need it? How many transactions have you got? Do you understand bookkeeping? Are you using accounting software? Are you using spreadsheets? How are you tracking all of that? It's going to play into whether a bookkeeper is important, whether it is going to help you, all that kind of stuff. So, and this is, I think, going to be a really important thing. So I actually like keeping track of my own bookkeeping, but it's obviously not an insane amount. And that's something I think is actually really vital when you're starting a business, is even if you're paying a bookkeeper or paying an accountant, you should have an understanding of where your finances are at all times. You need to have a basic understanding of finance to run a successful business in most situations. There might be the odd person that's the exception, but I genuinely believe that by having an understanding of where your finances are really important to business growth. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. So having an understand, if you're doing crypto mining, okay, well, how much am I generating per mining rig versus my electricity cost? What's that profitable? How long is that going to take to pay back my capital? If you're running a professional services firm, how much revenue do I need to be generating before I need to hire someone? So some of these calculations I was doing for myself today, having an understanding of, if you're running a retail store, what are our seasonal things? When are we going to get our most sales? What's our break-even points to open the doors each day? Is it worth opening on a weekend? All these things run into having an understanding of finance, and a good accountant or good bookkeeper will help explain these things. But the onus comes back on you as the business owner to start having a better understanding of these things, because it is your business at the end of the day. Your accountant, your bookkeeper, your advisor, your mentor, they obviously want you to grow, but they shouldn't want you to grow as much as you personally want to grow. So by having an understanding of those things is really important. So when to get a bookkeeper or when to not is going to depend on, obviously, those things I've talked about. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting situation. So in regards to losses being offset against your capital gains, is there a time limit that the action has to occur? No. So carried forward losses will keep being reported. Make sure that if you do switch accountants or you're doing your own, that these do keep rolling forward. They should roll forward if you're using the ATO system, I believe. So normally I can see when I bring up a new client if they do have any carried forward capital losses. But obviously, if you do switch accountants, make sure that they're aware of this. Make sure that keeps rolling forward, that your accountant is putting that in the tax return so they're there, because you don't want to miss out on using them in future years. So they can be rolled forward for 10 years, and then you could utilize them. It's just, they can't be offset against normal income, but they can be offset against future capital gains. So that's definitely something for you to consider. So make sure that you are checking that if you're aware of them, bringing them and making sure that you account, because I have had clients before that go, oh, I do have some capital losses from previous years. When I've checked, they weren't there the year before, but they were there the year before that, and they hadn't been entered correctly by the previous accountant. I've been able to fix that up and make sure they could utilize them and save themselves some tax. So I talk about all the way times on the channel, what's the easiest way to save tax? By actually taking advantage of the legitimate tax laws. So we talked about that quite a bit tonight. The best way to save tax is by making sure you're doing things properly and saving on legitimate deductions, legitimate losses, all those kind of things. So yeah, in basic, there is no time limit, but make sure that it is being recorded each year so that you can keep rolling forward those capital losses. If that hasn't happened, speak to your accountant and get that fixed up. So I hope that's been great. I've had lots of interaction tonight, so this does make me reconsider all that talk about doing the lives. So stay tuned. I will keep people updated on what's going to happen. So make sure you head over to Instagram, Ethan Rooshock on Instagram. I will be more active on there soon, I swear. But I will keep people updated there all the time on the stories there of what's happening with the channel. I do have one more question that's come in here, so I will jump to that one. From a fellow Ethan, awesome name, straight away, legend. Hi, mate. Do profit on your shares add on to your yearly taxable income? Example, I earn $140,000 and then make another $100,000. Do I go into the highest tax bracket of $180,000? Cheers. So yes, what will happen? Profit from shares, so will be capital gains, and that will be just added onto your taxable income. Obviously, you potentially got 50% discount if you hold from over 12 months. But assuming the shares are held in your personal name, that will be added. So all income in your personal name will get lumped in together. So it's business income, whether it's interest income, capital gains on shares, all those kind of things will all go in, and they will be added on, and they'll be taxed at your marginal rates. So if you've already got $140,000 of income, then you'll be taxed at that tax bracket up until the next one. And then only income that goes over the $180,000 will be then taxed at the next tax bracket. So it doesn't, just because you got up a tax bracket doesn't mean that it doesn't affect all the previous income. It only affects that future income over that amount. So that's something that people get confused, I think, quite often, is they think that, oh, well, if I earn $200,000, it's going to massively, by going over that $1 to $180,000, go over $1, it's going to affect all my other income. It just means that next dollar is going to be taxed at that higher tax bracket. So, but yeah, definitely something to consider. If you've got capital gains, you've already got large work income, that's already going to have chewed up all those low tax rates, or those low tax-free threshold, etc. So you're going to pay it at those higher rates from that first dollar of capital gains in that share. So that is something to consider, but it will all be lumped into your normal income. So it's definitely where people get very confused. And yeah, I've got one here from Max. So that seems like a major misconception. Yeah, a lot of people get really confused and they think that they'll just jump a tax bracket, and suddenly if they got to 179,999, they jump over that, 180,001, and they go, oh, all my other income is going to be taxed and it's not worth me. You hear how many people go, oh, it's not me worth doing overtime. I get taxed all my money. And that's not how it works. It's a marginal tax bracket. So, and that's the thing. Everyone makes this big deal about hitting tax brackets, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything to some people. Now, there are times where you do want to stay within certain brackets, and there are other things, Medicare levy surcharge, family tax benefit things that could be playing into these things, HECS debts, etc. Or there may be difference in income from year to year, and there may be reasons why you want to balance income across the years, etc. But just hitting a tax bracket is not a major thing that you need to stress about. There's no a dollar earned is always going to be better than a dollar not earned. You're never going to pay more than that dollar tax. There are a few rare situations where there's things that aren't marginal, but in 99% of situations, that's not how it works. So having an understanding of that is really important, because I see people turn down work for no reason because they just think they're going to pay more tax. So yeah, but coming back to that question, yeah, so profit on shares will be added to your yearly taxable income, but don't stress too much about those brackets. But those brackets may come into play if you're planning on when to sell those shares. That's a whole nother topic. Go and check out some of the videos I've done on timing of sales when it comes to capital gains. So yeah, it would be nice to be the $180,000 marginal tax rate. So yeah, obviously you're going to have tax problems at that rate, but you're hopefully earning enough that your lifestyle is supported. So really appreciate everyone joining tonight. I've had lots of great interactions, so I really appreciate that. We've gone for over 40 minutes, so it is the longest live yet. And I really appreciate, for those that do want to support the channel, if you're still here watching, I'd love for you to head over and just watch some of my other videos. I'm really trying to get my watch hours up. So if every single person that's watching now could just go play last week's live, give it a watch. There's some good content in there. That would really mean the world to me. So that's my one thing that I'm asking of anyone that's still watching. Please go and watch some of my other content. Go and watch it so that when I check my hours tomorrow morning, I can see it jump in it. I'll be able to know if you have or not. So I really appreciate that. That's my way of, that's what you can do to give me some value. Hopefully I've given everyone some value tonight. I appreciate everyone joining. And again, I'll have another video come up this Sunday, and I may be back for another live next week. Let's see what happens. Take care, everyone.